Hello and welcome. This is Mike D, and today I'm going to show you how to use the autofocus suite product in order to control some DOF Studio's features with the help of the usage of the Elgato's Stream Deck Classic device, the one with the 15 keys. First thing I have to do is to install the package into DOF Studio. You have to navigate through your main library into the path scripts Mike D autofocus suite and execute the first script add to menu and to toolbar. Executing the script, a dialog will pop up. In this dialog, you can select between a minimal installation, a default installation, and installation for interaction with some external devices. This dialog has three columns. The first column is responsible to add the selected scripts into the script menu. The second column is responsible to add the selected scripts into the toolbar. And the third column is responsible to remove any selected script you have already installed into DOF Studio. Hovering the mouse above the last column will show you in a tooltip the purpose of the selected script. Now, having the default scripts selected, I'm going to press the select for 3D connection mouse in the price edition and or Elgato Stream Deck Classic 15 keys interaction in order to add the necessary scripts. I'm going to press the add to menu button, and DOF Studio is prompting me to restart the application, which is what I'm going to do now. Let's see how to install the necessary profile for Elgato Stream Deck Classic device with 15 keys in order to use this device to control the autofocus suite. I have to move into my main DOF library into the path General Mike D Autofocus Suite. Right click anywhere in this gray area and click on the Browse to Folder Location option. This folder will open in a new window, and now I have to open the Stream Deck option. Over here, I have to select my Stream Deck as my primary device if I have many Stream Decks. And now all I have to do is double click on this file named Mike D Autofocus for DOF Studio 15 keys. By double clicking on this file, a new profile will be created in Stream Deck, which will be the Mike D Autofocus for DOF Studio 15 keys. As you can see, this profile has 3 pages. In the second page, I've got some keys that open new profiles. For example, if you have already a main profile for DOF, you can go over here and choose this profile. For me, it is DOF Studio. And if you also own the tone mapping console and the lights console products, you can go here and choose their own profile in order to move directly from this page. Close the Stream Deck menu and let's go back to DOF Studio. Back to Studio, and I have loaded an older promos scene in order to work with. I have to clarify here that most scripts are working with the current camera. By saying current camera, I mean the selected camera into the active viewport over here. Now I've got the perspective view, but most scripts won't work with any of these predefined DOF cameras. There must be a custom camera over here. In the case that I don't have any custom camera in the active viewport, the scripts will search for any selected camera into my scene tab. I have to work with 2 viewports, so I'm going into the window menu, viewports, and I'm going to choose the side-by-side option. In this case, the active viewport is the one with the yellow frame around it. As you can see, I can change the active viewport by clicking on it. Most scripts of the package will update the status bar with information about our current action. Take a look all the time on the status bar. First thing I'm going to do is to use my first key, which is the toggle left and right side of DOF Studio on and off. And with this way I can maximize my working space. I can achieve almost the same functionality using DOF Studio menu window, and I can select the action full screen mode, or I can just press the shortcut Shift and F11. In this case, DOF Studio will hide all the toolbars around my scene, and I won't have any button if I want. In the same time, when I'm going to exit this mode, DOF Studio is repainting my user interface, and in some cases the application is crashed. Let's navigate now into our scene in order to create some new cameras. Let's say that I want a camera somewhere here, and I'm going to add a new 105mm camera for Lucy. I can achieve this by pressing the new camera key over here, or by going into the third page of Stream Deck, and I'm going to choose the 105. Now a new camera has been created, and you can see it here. And this camera is locked by default. Let's navigate into another position. Let's say, I don't know, somewhere here. And let's create another camera over here, for example, 150mm. Now let's navigate into the studio in order to create some custom view cameras. The custom view cameras are some hidden cameras that store the current position, and we can restore them anytime we want. In order to create here in the active viewport a new view camera, I've got to press the V1 into the first page of Stream Deck, which will open my second page, this one, and I'm going to press this orange V1 key in order to save the current view. As you can see in the status bar, it is said that the custom view 1 is saved. Let's go into another position, let's say somewhere here, or to the right side of Lucy. I'm going to need this view, and over here I'm going to use save a second custom view. I can use up to 3 custom views, and if I open this tab with my scene, you can see that I've got over here my main cameras, but not the custom views. If I want to access my custom view, I've got to go into my second page of Stream Deck and press the blue keys so I can get the view I want. If I'm pressing over here at the active viewport the V1 key, I've got the custom view 1 camera as selected, the V2, and if I'm going to press again the same key, the V2 key, the camera will jump back to the perspective view. You cannot see the custom cameras, the custom view cameras into the scene, and you've got to open the show hidden nodes option in order to have access to these cameras, or to select them by this drop-down menu over here. Let's maximize again our working space, and if I go into the first page and press this blue button with the circle, my active viewport will circle through all my visible cameras and the perspective view into the active viewport. I can go into my 105mm camera now, and let's unlock this camera, as it is by default locked in the creation. I have to press this key with the green and the red locks, and as you can see in the status bar, the selected camera is unlocked. Now I can move it wherever I want to have a better frame over here, and it is a good habit to lock it again so I don't accidentally move it in the future. If you are not happy with your current camera's focal length, if you want the zoom factor, you can go to the first page of Stream Deck and press the FL button, the focal length button, and with this script a dialog will pop up. You can see now the current value, which is 105 millimeters, and you can decrease or increase its value in order to get zoom in or zoom out image of Lucy. Get it to the point where you're happy with the result and press done. Notice that the camera's name is not changed, although I have changed its focal length. If you are not happy with the result, you can always undo it. Let's go now into our Stream Deck's first page, and let's press the DOF key. By pressing the DOF key, the script will toggle the current camera's DOF property on or off. Pressing the key, you will see in the status bar that it said that the selected camera's DOF is now on. What exactly is the DOF, or else the depth of field, for any user that doesn't know? Let's go to the right side and let's restore our view, custom view 2. In the same time, I'm going into my tab, my scene tab, and I'm going to select the 105mm camera. As you can see here in my right viewport, there is a crosshair with a green and a red line, and the sphere exactly in the center. This is the focal point, or else the point where my current camera is focusing. There is a plane in front of this point and another plane behind it. All the area between these two planes are going to be clear in my final render. All the object in front of the front plane or behind the back plane is going to be blurred. How can I change this focal point? I want my camera to focus on Lucy instead of this point behind her. I've got to select my main camera in the scene, I've got to open the camera's parameters tab, and I've got to navigate into my camera group. Over here I've got to locate the local distance property, and I've got to drag this slider to the left or to the right in order to find the correct position. I'm not going to do it that way, so I'm going to undo this action, and I'm going to use one of my scripts that is quite more precise and a quicker way to do the same thing. I'm going to select my left viewport as the active viewport, and I'm going to select into the scene Lucy's head. Now, by pressing this button, the focus button on my Stream Deck first page, I will make the camera focus on Lucy instead of that point behind her. By pressing this key, the script is recognizing that Lucy is a figure, so having a left and a right eye, it is asking me if I want to focus on Lucy's eyes instead of her head, which is the current selected item. It is essential when you have a figure to focus on her eye, on her eyes. So I'm going to apply yes, and now my script makes the camera focus on Lucy's eyes. Let's test it by selecting the main camera into my scene view, and you can see here that the focal point is now on Lucy's eyes instead of this point behind her. Let's say now that I don't want to focus on Lucy, but my main object is this necklace in Lucy's right hand. All I have to do is going into my left viewport again, as this is where my main camera is selected, and I've got to select the necklace into the scene. You can see that the necklace is also selected into the scene tab as well. I'm going to press the same key again in my Stream Deck first page, the focus button, and now in the status bar it said that the camera is focusing on this point instead. Let's check the main camera again to test this script, and I'm going here into the perspective view in order to move it a little bit to the left. And as you can see, yes, the new focal point is now on the necklace instead of Lucy. You can undo this action if you don't want it, so I can press this key over here or press the Ctrl Z into my keyboard to undo the last action. How can I change this area so I can get it larger or smaller in order to have more or less items clear in my render? I've got to use the camera's f-stop property. I have to activate again my left viewport, as it has my main camera as the current camera. And now I have to press the f-stop key into my Stream Deck device. Pressing this button, a dialog will pop up. Over here I've got a drop-down menu, and as you can see my current value is in 22. Each time I'm increasing this value, this area will become larger. Each time I'm decreasing this value, this area will become smaller. I want to have more objects clear in my final render, so I'm going to choose another value, let's say 90. As you can see here, the area is getting larger, and now I've got a way more clear items in my final render, including the necklace. Let's undo the last action, and let's see another way of seeing the clear areas and the blurred areas using the DOF Near and Far visibility planes. I'm going to switch NVIDIA iRay Preview on my left viewport, although it isn't necessary. Pressing in my Stream Deck first page the DOF Far button will bring this white plane, which represents the plane behind Lucy. And as you understand, each item that it is not visible in the active viewport will be behind this plane, and it will be blurred in my final render. I'm going to press this button again, so this plane will get invisible. And now I'm going to press the DOF Near button, so a new plane is displaying in the scene, and this plane is representing the plane in front of Lucy. As you can understand, all the items that is in front of this plane, and now all these items are visible in my active viewport, will be blurred too. All I have to do is just pressing the f-stop button if I want to change this area, as I mentioned before. Now I'm going to switch this plane off by pressing again the same DOF Near button. If I want to manually activate my DOF Near and Far visibility planes, I've got to have my main camera selected in the active viewport. I've got also to select the camera into my Scene tab, and I've got to navigate into my camera's properties and find the depth of field is on, the display, and over here I've got some properties. The one is, let me find it, the Near DOF plane visibility and the Far DOF plane visibility, which I've got to turn on in order to see the appropriate planes in front and behind my main model. At the same time, I've got to increase this value, the DOF overlay opacity, because the 5% opacity is not enough to show you the plane in the scene. My scripts do all these actions at once for you, so you don't have to worry about all these things. Let's set now the NVIDIA Array preview off, as I don't want it anymore. Let's maximize now the working area, and let's see another script that also adds new functionality into DAZ Studio. I showed you earlier the focus script that instantly make the current camera focuses on our selected item. What about if I want to move Lucy into another position or my main camera into another position, but I want my camera to stay focused on Lucy's eyes? This autofocus script is going to do this for us. It is going to keep tracking of both Lucy's or my camera's movement into the scene, and it will refocus the camera into my Lucy's eyes each time one of these items have been relocated into the scene. Let's see how it works. I'm in my left viewport with my main camera selected, and I'm going to select Lucy's head as well as my focused item. I'm going into my Stream Deck first page, and I'm going to press the autofocus button, and by pressing this button a new dialog will pop up. As you can see, the script also recognizes that Lucy is a figure, and a new option is over here, prompt us to focus on Lucy's eyes instead of the head, which is the current selection. All I have to do is just press this switch autofocus on button, and now the script is tracking Lucy's and camera's positions. Let's get now Lucy into another position. I'm opening my Scene tab, I'm going up to select Lucy, and I am going to move her further away into the scene. Now, selecting the main camera again into my Scene tab, I will see that the camera is now focuses on the new Lucy's position. Undoing this action and bring Lucy back to the original position, I will notice that the camera still stays focused on Lucy's eyes. I don't want this feather anymore, because I'm going to manual select, manual focus on some point. So by having camera's head selected again, Lucy's head selected again, I'm pressing the autofocus button once more, and now I'm pressing the switch autofocus off button in order to disengage this tracking. Let's see now another very powerful and very useful script that also adds a new functionality into DAZ Studio, which is the perspective compression script. This term is from the photography, and it means that I can move my current camera closer to my main object, and at the same time I can decrease my focal length, so my main object have the same relative size into my frame. In the opposite, I can get my camera further away from my model, and at the same time I can increase my focal length, and my model's relative size will remain the same. Having Lucy's camera selected into my main viewport, I'm going now to press the PC or perspective compression button into my Stream Deck first page. As you can see now, the script also recognizes that Lucy is a figure, and it is asking me if I want my camera to focus on Lucy's eyes instead of the head, that it is now the selected item. I'm going to apply yes, and now a new dialog has been popped up. In this dialog you can see two sliders. With the first slider I can change my camera's distance from the target, which is Lucy, and with the second slider I can change my camera's focal length, which is now 105 millimeters. First of all, let's see what's included so far into our scene. You can see that behind Lucy the door is almost visible, and I've got all this corner of the wall and some beams over here to the right. If I'm going to get my distance closer to Lucy by decreasing this value, at the same time the script also decreases the focal length, so I've got a more wide perspective. Over here you can see now that I have a visible portion of the stairs, almost all the corner of the wall, and also the track over here with this flower, which was not visible the previous time. Lucy still remains at the same relative size in my frame. Now I'm going to the opposite direction. I'm going to get my camera further away from Lucy. As you can see, the number now is increasing, and the script also increases the focal length. Now I have quite less objects into my frame. Only a part of the door is visible and only this part of the wall. As you can see, with this script you can change the objects that you can include into your frame, and you can get more ideas about your final composition. You can press done anytime you are satisfied with the result, and if you don't like the outcome, you can undo anytime. Let's see now two other handy scripts that you can find only in the toolbar and not in the Stream Deck pages. The first one is the resetting of any tilting of the current camera at the Z axis, as you can see the tooltip, and the second one is another script that resets any tilting in the X and Z axis for any selected node. Let's see an example. Let's go into our left viewport. I've got my main camera selected, and now I'm going to unlock this camera. Holding the control key, I'm going to rotate somewhere here, and let's say that I have made this action accidentally or deliberately. If I want to undo it, but I don't have the opportunity because I have done many other things in the meantime, all I have to do is just by having my current camera in the active viewport, I have to just press this button and the camera is resetting its Z axis. Now let's open the scene tab and let's find Lucy's route over here, and let's put some random rotation over the X and the Z axis. Again, all I have to do is just select Lucy's route, which I already have in my scene, and now I've got only to just press this button, and as you can see now, Lucy is at her previous position. I hope that with this suite you get more functionality between your Stream Deck device and DOF Studio's cameras. Thank you for watching my video.